Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're diving into something pretty universal, the concept of love, but maybe from a different angle.
Yeah, we're drawing from the wisdom of Madam Xuân Phượng, featured on Vietcetera's Yulon podcast.
Right, specifically her chat with Thuy Minh. It was originally, I think, a YouTube video, Yo Bao Lola You, something like that.
Exactly. And for you, the learner, our goal here is really to pull out some maybe surprising insights, not just about romance, but also about what drives us, our passions, and how to find some peace, maybe, through all the ups and downs.
Distilling those key lessons and, well, some really memorable stories from her perspective.
Definitely.
And just to set the scene a bit, this conversation happened in Hu, which is Madam Xuân Phượng hometown.
Yeah, at the Azrai Hotel. So it's got this sort of tranquil background. If you hear little sounds, that's probably why.
Part of the atmosphere. Okay, so let's get into it. Madam Xuân Phượng, who's 95, she actually said she was a bit surprised initially to be asked about peaceful love at her age.
Which is interesting in itself, right?
Right.
But what struck me immediately was how she expanded that idea.
How so?
Well, for her, the love of my life wasn't necessarily about a person. It was more about the essence of her life, her being, and how she finds peace within that.
So love as something deeper, almost foundational.
Exactly. She described it as a root deep in the soul. It's the thing that motivates you to live peacefully, to live with faith. It's that core drive.
That makes sense. And it connects to her writing, too, doesn't it? Her work, Gan Gan Gong Gong.
Yes, it highlights how important our origins, our hometown are in shaping us.
So this peaceful love she talks about, it's much, much bigger than just romance. It's like a foundation for living.
Right. And that immediately sets up a contrast with, well, romantic love.
Yeah, she points out how tricky it is to define when romantic love is actually, good.
Because it's always moving, changing, often quite turbulent.
Exactly. There's this sort of inherent instability she seems to notice.
And she has this really powerful observation based on, well, a lifetime of experience and even translating works about love.
Right, like that Dictionary of Love she mentioned. Hundreds of entries just for D.
Yeah, think about classics like The Lady with the Camellias. Her take, after seeing so many stories, was that romantic love often brings more suffering than actual joy.
That's quite a statement, considering how much we focus on it culturally.
It is, but she contrasts that potential turmoil with other kinds of love. Love for family, friends, art, maybe even your country.
And those other forms, they offer something different.
She emphasizes the warmth they provide, how they genuinely reduce loneliness, especially, she notes, as we get older. Her point seems to be about needing something good inside ourselves first, like an inner resilience.
To handle life's difficulties.
Yeah, to make everything feel a little less painful, perhaps. To have that inner core.
Okay, so shifting gears slightly, the conversation then moves towards her passion for art.
Right, and her role with the Lotus Gallery. It wasn't just a business venture for her.
No, it sounds much deeper. She wanted to show a different image of Vietnam.
Exactly. Beyond the sort of aftershocks of war narrative that was common, but it started with her own love for the paintings.
She loved the art first, then decided to share it.
Precisely. The drive came from that personal connection. And the origin story is quite something.
Tell me about that. She retired at 55.
Yeah, from being a war correspondent, she was a cameraman, a TV director, and ended up with this really small pension, like 20,000 VND.
Wow, that must have been jarring, feeling a bit lost.
Very much so, it sounds like. And then came this offer, almost unbelievable, to be a bicycle keeper at the Opera House.
After everything she'd done, that must have felt
Deeply unfair, she uses that word. And perhaps that feeling, that injustice, was actually a catalyst.
a push in a new direction.
Seems like it. She decided to go to France. And while she was there, she kept hearing this narrative about Vietnam focused only on poverty, on war.
And that sparked something.
A realization. She saw that the world wasn't seeing the richness of Vietnamese culture. It's art.
So the gallery idea was born from that, to fill that gap.
Pretty much. To champion the culture, support the artists who are struggling, just like she had felt that struggle, and share a fuller picture.
In naming it Lotus Gallery.
Yeah, that symbolism of resilience, beauty coming out of difficult conditions, feels very intentional.
So this love for art then led her to specific artists, right? Like Ope Xuân Doan.
Yes, and finding these artists was a process, she emphasizes. It wasn't instant. With Doan, he was apparently quite quiet, his talent sort of hidden.
Until she visited his home.
Right, that's when she really connected with his colors. She describes this personal resonance. It wasn't just technical skill. It hit her on a deeper level.
And she decided to support him based on that feeling.
It seems so. And she talks so warmly about one specific painting of his, the one with the Vietnamese bamboo.
Ah, yes, the bamboo. She finds a lot of meaning there.
So much. It's fragility alone, but it's strength when woven together. The grace of the leaves, that cycle of growth. She compares it to a diligent mother.
Beautiful metaphors.
Really evocative. And with that specific painting, she mentions the honey yellow sky, capturing that feeling of autumn in Hanoi.
And the way he painted the bamboo with a trowel.
Yes.
Oh.
To suggest the wind moving through them, she felt it conveyed this gentle breeze, this almost dreamlike quality.
So it wasn't just seeing it, it was feeling it too, capturing the essence of Vietnam's beauty.
Exactly, both the feeling and the vision. And that painting became incredibly special to her.
She didn't sell it, right? Even though people wanted it.
No, she kept it. Compared it to keeping your own child. That's how deep that connection went.
Wow. And this deep connection to art, she links it to finding stillness.
Yes, she sees a direct line between looking at art, really engaging with it, and achieving a kind of mental quiet, like meditation.
And that helped her personally.
Very much so, according to her. Loving these paintings helped her cope with worries about money, raising her kids.
How did it help?
She says it reduced her haste, her anger. It helped her return to what she calls her good human nature. It provided an inner calm.
So the beauty of the art kind of balanced out the daily struggles.
It seems that way. A space for reflection, a way to consciously turn away from negativity. The paintings were a real comfort, especially when she was worried.
Which leads naturally to this idea that appreciating love or art takes time. It's not instant.
Right. She actually disagrees with the whole love at first sight idea.
Interesting. Why?
She feels a real connection needs time to develop, to deepen. She even mentions a friend who had a rule.
A rule for looking at paintings?
Yeah, basically give it a few minutes. Don't just glance and judge.
Yeah.
Let it sink in, see if a connection emerges.
Allow for that resonance.
Exactly. And for her, this wasn't new. Her appreciation for art goes way back.
To their childhood.
Her father, her grandfathers, they valued paintings. She remembers seeing a kibashi shrimp painting as a kid and feeling it was so real, the shrimp might just jump off the paper. That vivid memory shows how early this love began.
Long before she thought about promoting Vietnamese art professionally.
Right. But that deep love clearly fueled her actions later on. It drove her to overcome some pretty big obstacles to open that gallery.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, was it? Despite the passion.
Not at all. She faced real challenges. But what stands out is her spirit. She just refuses to give up. She looks for other ways.
Find solutions.
Find solutions. And think about the money she started with. Just $2,000 saved from translation work in France.
That's barely anything to start a gallery.
It really underscores her point, doesn't it? That true passion, true love for something often starts and grows in tough times.
Her determination seems immense. Never surrender, no matter what.
That's a powerful theme. But pursuing this passion also brought real emotional pain.
What was the hardest part for her?
She talks about the artists. Specifically, artists she had supported, helped introduce internationally, who then left her.
Left her.
When they became successful, some prioritized getting higher prices elsewhere, forgetting the loyalty to the person who first believed in them and invested in them.
Ouch. That must have felt like a betrayal.
Exactly. Even though it wasn't romantic love, she felt that sting of disappointment, of abandonment almost.
She makes that interesting comparison between love and a lover.
Yeah, the lover might leave, but the love itself for the art, for the mission that can persist. But it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
No, she mentions the sadness, looking back at those shared memories, those collaborations.
Definitely. Though she also shows this capacity for understanding, eventually. She recognized they needed to make a living.
So forgiveness came, even with the hurt.
It seems so. A broader perspective over time. But the initial pain was real.
And this leads to another point: the art endures, right?
Absolutely. The artist might move on, relationships might change, but the artwork itself remains. And the love for that can remain unchanged.
The creation outlasts the relationship dynamics.
Perfectly put. She still loves Oz Yuandong's Wind, painting deeply, for instance.
Yeah.
The art's power transcends those later difficulties.
So she didn't stop after those departures.
No, she adapted. She kept looking for new artists. Her travels across Vietnam searching for talent, that became the focus.
The journey itself.
Yes. She describes the path, the journey, as her true love. which is quite a perspective.
It implies constant movement, constant searching.
She literally says, true love is always letting go of the old things and looking for something new, always seeking, evolving, even now at 95.
That's quite radical in a way. We often think of love as holding on.
Right. But for her, it's this active exploration, embracing change. Still, there were moments of near burnout.
Like after feeling betrayed by an artist, she wanted to stop.
Yeah, she felt exhausted, really considered giving up. And she talks about resisting that societal pressure, you're old enough, just retire.
But she didn't?
No. Instead, she used that feeling, that sense of betrayal almost, as fuel.
Fuel to find someone new, to prove her vision again.
Exactly. She acknowledges the toll, sleepless nights. Worry agrees. But it led to some really unexpected successes.
Like that painter whose style was unconventional.
Yes. Apparently, his work initially scared the villagers, but internationally, it resonated hugely. Singapore, America, Paris.
Oh, wow. That must have felt validating after the setbacks.
Immense joy, she says. And it reinforces her whole approach to selling art, too.
Which was?
Prioritizing buyers who really connected, who spent time contemplating the work, not just quick sales. She wanted that genuine appreciation.
She wanted a dialogue between the art and the viewer.
Precisely. And then there's the story of her buying 4,000 paintings from this one artist.
4,000 against advice.
Yes, purely on her intuition, her long-term belief in his work. And it paid off. Demand soared. Even her own staff wanted his paintings.
That's incredible foresight, or maybe just deep conviction.
Probably a bit of both. The speed of that success shocked even her, apparently. But it came back to that connection she fostered.
Okay, so this whole journey, the love, the art, the setbacks, the successes, it feels like a process.
Very much so. And that leads into a hint of what we might explore next time. The idea that love, like self-discovery, has ups and downs.
She uses that analogy, right? The train car.
Yeah, sometimes it's on the tracks, that's peaceful love. Sometimes it's off the tracks, less peaceful times.
And peaceful love involves, what did she say? Inner peace, openness.
Tolerance, a considered view, things that allow for smoother progress, keeping that train on the rails.
Okay, so how to get the train cars back on the track. That's for next time.
That's the teaser, yes. How to cultivate that peaceful state.
Got it. So wrapping up this deep dive then, we've really covered a lot.
We have. From broadening the definition of love to understanding the drive behind passion, finding peace through art.
And the sheer resilience needed sometimes to follow your vision.
Absolutely. Madam Xuân Phượng definitely gave us some aha moments, some perspectives you don't hear every day.
Yeah, it really makes you think beyond just the usual narratives about love.
And hopefully it encourages you, the learner, to reflect a bit on your own definitions. What does love mean for you in all its forms? What journeys are you on?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
Building on that train track idea, what tracks in your own life, your own pursuits, might need a little attention right now to make things feel a bit more peaceful?
That's a good question to ponder. Something to carry with you until our next deep dive.